I remember my very first philosophy class, and I remember blowing my mind. Like, I felt like somebody was slicing the top of my head off. It was a high I've never felt before. It was an intellectual high, and I think I pursued that feeling. What I wanted to know was what's really true and what's really real. So behind the appearance, behind the bustle of change and things that come and go, like what's at the foundation of it all? And that's what first got me to major and eventually go to grad school to do more of it. We've looked at some Confucian philosophers. So note that they really focused on moral development. Either human nature is good, in which case we can just lean into that fact and try to develop our already good moral nature. I'm Hannah Kim. I'm an assistant professor in the philosophy department at the University of Arizona. Improve. But either way, Confucianism is really focused on developing yourself. I teach and research philosophy of art or aesthetics, as well as metaphysics and Asian philosophy. Bend reality into... But I also think a lot about philosophy of fiction, which is the thing I ended up focusing on. That's just like an excuse. And they're almost doing this like whistleblowing doublespeak kind of thing, where they are telling this fictional story, but really wink wink, what they're saying is something about reality. So the really tricky thing with philosophy of fiction is I work with this concept called fictional truth. It's a way of looking at the world. You might think fiction is just what's made up, what's imaginary, nonfiction is what's real, what's happened. But some of my favorite writers, John Steinbeck, Dostoevsky, they're getting at these angsty human truths about psychology and the human condition. So they get me to believe what's true, I think, but not because Raskolnikov is real or true, and not because Kathy Ames is a real person.
I gotta talk to you.
Another thing that makes this fiction-nonfiction distinction hard is that a lot of things are constructed, even history. And some people even go as far as to say, look, everything is fiction for that reason, because everything is constructed. So like, when are those situations where like we make this choice not to go along with the author? And this is one reason why I think philosophy of fiction is really important now at a time when misinformation and disinformation is everywhere, and it's getting harder and harder to know what's real and what's not. And in the midst of that, we have this human practice of fiction making. And so if we can get clear on what that is, we might be able to draw a clearer line of what is real, what's fiction, and what is just not real, what's a lie, what's deception.
Social media platform,
ChatGPT,
conspiracy theories, spread misinformation.
I think I tend to resonate with really angsty literature, works where protagonists are just unsatisfied or they're searching, and so they are just trying all these things to get answers. One kind of strand of classics in this vein is like Anna Karenina, Madame Bovary, right? These women who feel like they don't quite have it all. They are searching for answers, they're searching for good life. So any literature that asks these questions, I think that's what really speaks to me. So I grew up between two cultures. I was born in Nevada, but I also spent my childhood in Korea. But I also grew up in settings where asking questions was a form of rebellion. And I was chastised a lot for being a bad child, for rebelling all the time, for debating all the time, for just fighting all the time. And so when I found philosophy, that was miraculous, honestly. I think it helped me, I think it saved me, and that's how I got into philosophy.
Let's dive deeper into concerns around spreading misinformation. From robocalls to deep fakes.
Artificial intelligence and deep learning.
So we live in a world where we are inundated with information.
Trained on a massive amount of data.
has the ability to respond to prompts in a human-like manner.
But apparently, that makes it harder to know what's really real and what's really true.
How far the technology has come.
And I think this is where we get into dangerous territory now.
Already playing a role in the 2024 election.
It's been interesting to see people react to AI as if it's a phenomenon we've never seen before. Like, we've seen movies like Pinocchio, we've seen fictional people who we know are not real sound as if they're real. And so, just like fictional people, they sound like real people, but AI is fiction.
I can talk. I can walk.
We're going to have more and more augmented reality and more virtual reality becoming a part of just our daily practices. Humans have come up with this phenomenal ability to keep reality and not reality distinct when it comes to fiction. And I think that's because we've learned how to use this fiction as a piece of technology, as a communicative technology, as an artistic technology. And so I think we can get there with AR and VR too, right? Once we get a grip on how to use it and what we want to use it for, then we can keep separate what's real, what's not, and enjoy its benefits without getting delusional. And so philosophy, as this process of carefully making distinctions, thinking through all the different categories and seeing the ramifications, doing this in this iterative process helps us clarify what really is going on when people are tempted to say things like, it's all fiction, or say, actually, it's not, and here's why. So I think philosophy matters more than ever now because of its two major guiding questions. So one is what is real or what is true, and second, how do you live a good life? One of my favorite movies is Bergman's Seventh Seal. And this is the movie with the famous scene where a knight plays chess with death on a beach. And the movie is about this knight who's come back from the Crusades, very disillusioned about life, about faith, about what's good and what's bad and what's right and wrong. And the movie doesn't give any answers. The movie just continues to show someone's trying out different ways of thinking. I think philosophy helps me feel more comfortable with not knowing. I might be wrong, and that's okay. And this is an ongoing process. There's no destination I'm getting to. It's really the continual search that I'm really interested in. And I think the search tells us a lot about who we are and what we value. And I can't help but think this might be a good reflection of what life is. This is a good life.